The first part of Tatsuki Fujimoto's critically and commercially acclaimed manga, Chainsaw Man, was a closed, self-contained narrative. By the end of the final arc, nearly all the main characters except Denji were dead. The control devil was put down, and the humans of the world still dealt with the threats of devils. However, Fujimoto decided to return to the world of Chainsaw Man a year and a half later. This first arc of Chainsaw Man Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, expands upon the world of the previous story and focuses more on civilian life rather than the bureaucracy of the Public Safety Devil Commission. Since the focus of Part 2 is on life outside of semi-professional devil killers, we get a new protagonist to guide us through a post-Gun Devil Massacre world. Asa Mitaka, much like Denji, is an outcast. Her parents were eaten by a devil, and she despises the corrupt nature of the city. She equally despises her new school curriculum, taking care of Bucky the Chicken Devil. Asa's extreme sense of justice extends to all her fellow students, which explains why she takes her lunch alone on the balcony. However, her class president, who is much more down with the new acceptance of devils and the heroic Chainsaw Man, comes to join her one day. 3 months pass and Bucky's day of reckoning is upon Asa's class. However, the class president bucks the original lesson plan and votes to save the Chicken Devil. Asa is anything but thrilled with this decision, but is swayed when Bucky calls her by her name. Her peers' acceptance is short-lived after she trips, falls, and accidentally crushes the devil. That night, the class president and her teacher, Mr. Tanaka, interrupt her mental breakdown and invites her to visit Bucky's grave. It seems that her breakdown might be contagious since Class Prez gets disproportionately upset over Asa's inability to jaywalk on an empty street. But turns out that she's been a devil in disguise. She made a contract with the Justice Devil in order to find out if their teacher was truly in love with her. Unfortunately for Asa, Mr. Tanaka also had eyes for her, and so she must die. And she does, kind of. She's half decapitated while ruminating on how she was not alone and feeling envious of others. However, she's supernaturally revived and turns Mr. Tanaka's head and spinal cord into a sword, much to the shock of class president and Asa herself. Side note, this is another of Fujimoto's endless film homages, since this is how the titular monster in the Predator franchise takes their trophies of war. The Hydra as class president is disposed of quickly with the Tanaka sword. This is the War Devil, and she means business. She sits on the body and muses about her own plan to kill Chainsaw Man. The problem is she and Asa now share a body, and Asa struggles to believe she's now technically a murderer. Unlike other contracts we've seen throughout the series, Asa is more or less a host in order for the War Devil to kill Chainsaw Man. Turns out Denji has been laying low at Asa's school, and the War Devil is more than willing to completely take over Asa to make sure he'll die by her hand. Even with the threat of assured death, Asa staunchly refuses to go into her place of torment. A student tries to take her to the nurse, but the War Devil overrides Asa's control over her body and tries to extract information instead. Her seductive approach to interrogation flops miserably. The War Devil defends her actions by explaining that anything she owns can become a weapon later. Getting a boyfriend means another potential human sword. Asa wants to back out of this one-sided partnership, but the War Devil lets her know that privacy is a thing of the past. More importantly, if they split before Chainsaw Man is caught, Asa will die. In order to keep living, Asa and the War Devil join the school's Devil Hunters Club. Asa and her 2 devil hunting partners, the nice student that the War Devil flirted with, and the awkward girl with glasses, explore the school's empty classrooms for hidden devils. She starts to feel even worse when she sees the supposedly dead class president walk by her. In her trauma-fueled haze, Asa stumbles around until she sees her shoes covered in gross-looking meat. She trudges back home with the War Devil upset about their lack of shoes until her glasses-wearing partner Yuko stops her. She awkwardly offers one shoe, which Asa refuses to take. The classmate takes off, running to her house, and Asa has no choice but to follow. Asa reluctantly ends up with both shoes, but attempts to return them the next day. The two begin another devil hunt without Yoshida, the nice kid who tried to take Asa to the nurse. His absence gives the girls time to bond over their parents' death, with a little meta moment thrown in for fun. The war devil thinks this friendship can be mutually beneficial for her and her host, the aforementioned turning people into weapons thing. But Asa is understandably not down with the plan. The argument goes nowhere, but the war devil gives both Asa and the audience her new name. Elsewhere in Tokyo, a street preacher speaks about the statistical fates of various people stopping to listen. The speech is heard by Asa and her classmate as they watch a devil kill a student. Yoru won't be much help either since she's not strong enough, and even if she was, she can't take over her fear-stricken host. The girls try to escape, but they move too fast and alert the devil of their position. Yuko is injured in the ensuing chase, and Yoru insists that it's better to turn her into a weapon than let her be dead weight. She knows that Asa doesn't feel remorse for killing Bucky, the devil chicken, and tries to weaponize that ruthlessness. Instead of giving in, Asa carries Yuko a few steps before falling at a critical moment, a common theme throughout her life. Remembering some words of wisdom from Yuko, she gets back up and carries on. However, the dead weight does weigh the both of them down, until it's cut down by a figure several feet away. This is the triumphant return of the Chainsaw Man, as he skins the Bat Devil from head to waist before slamming it into several buildings. The somehow still alive devil gives Chainsaw Man an ultimatum: one student or a car of 5 senior citizens. He splits the devil's head in half, thus condemning all 6 people in its hands, and saves a cat instead. Looks like he retained a little something from working with power. Public opinion on Chainsaw Man is quite split. Even after he heroically saved that cat, everyone seems to have a unique opinion on the devil hybrid, but none quite as long-winded as Denji himself, as he struts away from his awful interview before he runs into Yoshida. Denji doesn't know who this stranger inviting him to breakfast is, but Yoshida knows him quite well. He's from a special task force created to protect Denji from both the public and himself. Turns out the kid's been trying to reveal his secret identity, hence his increased dedication to fighting devils, and that could mean trouble. Denji doesn't care about that. He's still hunting for the ladies. What Denji doesn't know is that one lady hunting him is super mad right now. Yoru is super upset that the devil that started her initial fall from power ended up saving her from a much weaker enemy. Remember, the war devil was named as one of the 4 horsemen, the beings who remember all the devils devoured by Pochita, meaning she along with Makima were some of the most powerful devils at one point. Outside of his hybrid form, Denji is nowhere near as powerful as Yoru would expect. He's trying to make a quick 10 yen from being a human chair. Yoshida catches him in the act while trying to return Denji's student ID and winds up using the moment to humiliate his ward. His back-sitting convinces Denji to put off revealing his identity for now, as long as Yoshida can set him up on a date. The girl in question is Asa. Yoshida's matchmaking needs some work though. These two social outcasts have an awkward first meeting. It ends in Denji trying to reveal his secret identity once more, but Asa just calls him a loser and storms off. Yoru unintentionally helps out Yoshida by trying to apply logic to Denji's action. She tries to convince Asa to return to the Devil Hunters Club, but her host placates her with a quick plan to lure out her mortal enemy while she goes to see an injured Yuko. The two have a happy, yet still awkward reunion filled with stories and embarrassing secrets. Yuko's secret turns out to be a very real murder confession, then reveals that she also made a contract with the Justice Devil. Unlike the outright selfish motivations of class president, Yuko did it to protect her new friend. Asa blames herself for Yuko's contract and worries that she created a bully-killing monster. Yoru is no help in quelling these fears. In fact, this plays right into her plan to kill Chainsaw Man. The next day, a cheerful Yuko goes to school ready to enact her plan. She runs into Yoru and is immediately able to suss out what's going on. She transforms into another form of the Justice Devil, and the two begin to battle. The other students are quickly evacuated, which gives Yuko good cover and easy access to her intended victim. Yoru improvises an attack with a pencil spear, but it's not powerful enough. Yuko Uno reverses the throw through the War Devil's torso, with one student apparently killed and one bully injured. The Devil Hunters Club steps up. In order to not hurt any innocents, Yuko stops fighting and takes a few hits from her fellow Devil Hunter. Her sense of justice continues to warp further to the point she begins fighting back against her former allies turned bullies. Yoru tries to appeal to Yuko, but fails, leaving her with only one plan: leave it all to Asa. The War Devil is still present enough to tell Asa how to make a decent weapon when empathy fails once again. She rips off her uniform, a gift from her deceased mother, and creates her first sword. Yuko tries to convince her new best friend to spare her since she isn't a bully, but Asa is tired of her righteous speeches. Her uniform sword is sufficiently powerful and dices Yuko into little pieces. Her head is left intact, and despite the monstrous behavior she exhibited, Asa is reluctant to completely kill off her friend. Luckily, a student that managed to stay out of the fray and wearing some cool ripcord earrings offers a favor to her quote-unquote little sister. Asa's confused about this new familial relation, but she can't say no to the all too familiar spiral eyes. Yuko's enlarged head bursts out of the school, ready to wreak havoc on the city. Her first act is to destroy the progenitor of bullies, the school, or at least a wing of it. She indiscriminately knocks students aside until she sees a still unclothed Asa unconscious on the floor of the school. Assuming the strange girl with the ripcord earrings is responsible, she begins to crush her with a tentacle. She's nearly successful too, until a way too excited Denji shows up and attempts to blow his cover and play hero once more. Yuko, a previously established fan of Chainsaw Man's work, is excited to see him in person, despite the circumstances. She tries to defend herself, but is unable to predict his moves. All Denji's focused on is revealing his identity in a cool way. Without her mind-reading advantage, Yuko is put down for good right as Asa regains consciousness. That night, Asa, traumatized from yet another killing, wakes up from a recurring dream. She trudges through her house until a knock and familiar voice breaks her from her trance. It's Yuko, now fully a devil, trying to say goodbye before she attempts to regain her humanity again. Despite her warnings to keep the door closed for her own safety, Asa opens up. Yuko opens up too, telling Asa not to blame herself for the day's events. Yuko would have made the contract regardless to gain the love and respect someone like Chainsaw Man has. She knows that her ends were not justified by her means, and her thoughts are no longer completely her own, especially those that compel her to smack Asa around. Even knowing the danger of keeping Yuko around a minute longer, Asa has one last thing for her friend. She offers her shoes for Yuko to wear, just like the act of kindness that began their all too brief friendship. The two share a laugh over their previous awkwardness and new, messed up lives before Yuko runs away with a promise to return the shoes. Unfortunately, that's a promise that will go unfulfilled, as Yuko is decapitated in her sleep by Chainsaw Man. And that's the end of Chainsaw Man Part 2, Act 1. With the stakes and characters for Part 2 officially set up, the second act of Chainsaw Man gets scarier. Not only is there a new powerful devil threatening our two leads, something else much scarier is on the horizon: a high school dating life. Before that specific horror can begin, Asa has one other loose threat to wrap up: the mysterious girl with the chainsaw ripcord earrings present throughout the final battle with Yuko. Despite claiming Yoru was her little sister, the War Devil denies knowing her. Perhaps Asa will be able to ask the girl herself, since she runs into her with the other Devil Hunter Club leaders. The new student council president offers Asa immediate entry into the club at the recommendation of Akoku, another leader rocking the same neck markings as Yoshida. Yoru is the one that accepts the offer and attempts to learn Chainsaw Man's identity once more. In a wild twist, her attempt appears successful, since the student council president is more than happy to reveal the ripcord in his chest. Instead of confronting him, Yoru leaves to make a game plan with Asa. The War Devil reasons that she requires a strong weapon in order to defeat Chainsaw Man for good. She had a difficult time taking down Yuko, so she needs something even stronger for her mortal enemy. Asa is weirdly compliant with this request, upset about how miserable she's become since becoming a devil host. She's even willing to go back on her earlier promise to never turn a human into a weapon. The duo look over Tokyo searching for a potential victim. Yoru suggests that another meaningful possession would work, but unfortunately Asa doesn't have anything left. A cat, like the one Asa puts in her lap, won't work either. Fujimoto seems to have a soft spot for them. Yoru tries to convince her to find something undeserving of death, since guilt is a necessity for creating a powerful weapon. Their compromise is to find a middle ground, a person just over the line of a just victim like a criminal, but not as innocent as a cat. They pretty quickly find a potential target in a young man picking cigarette butts off the street. Unbeknownst to them both, their target is the worst possible option. It's Denji, who's upselling re-rolled cigarettes to the homeless. With a coaxing from Yoru and the memory of Yuko still fresh, Asa approaches Denji again. Since these two are both as unsocialized as a feral cat, their first one-on-one meeting is rough. However, Asa still manages to turn on the charm just enough to successfully ask Denji on a date the next day. After a pep talk in the mirror, Asa is ready for her meticulously planned date at the aquarium. Unfortunately, her idea of a good time is reciting a Wikipedia page's worth of facts on sea anemones and starfish to an increasingly unenthused Denji. She definitely gains some semblance of self-worth from part 1 and politely asks to see the penguin. This isn't the same guy that let an adult woman throw up in his mouth. Good for him. Asa petulantly insists that her way is the only way to have a perfect date, which cuts it short. Asa's riz is so non-existent that Yoru has to step in and tell her human host the truth. She's a total bore. One person does agree that Asa was in the right, the girl with the ripcord earrings. She knows that Denji is a morally gray individual, but she also knows that Asa is a goody two-shoes and lacks the drive to turn a human into a weapon. Considering this is just some girl she's crossed paths with, Asa is understandably shocked to learn that someone else knows her dirty little secret. However, Asa's dealings with the devil are still technically out of public knowledge. This is the Famine Devil, Fami for short. Another member of the Four Horsemen. I'm assuming she's the older sister because the fear of famine predates that of war. You can tell Fami is the older sister since she immediately takes the reins and forces Asa into an ultimatum. She's keeping Asa and Denji in a spatially warped aquarium. No windows, no doors, until Asa finds the resolve to make a human weapon. Having lived through the Eternity Devil situation, Denji dreads being stuck in an infinite hellscape again. He tries to give her advice, but Asa's know-it-all nature raises its head again. To be fair, she does know more about what's causing this specific case of spatial warping. She also has the 3 heads of the Devil Hunters Club to back her claims up. It seems like Denji's going to be ignored until an unexpected ally appears. Yoshida also happens to be at the aquarium, probably making sure Denji doesn't reveal his identity to a rando. It's definitely a case of right place, right time though, because Yoshida is a prodigy at devil hunting. He's a public safety devil hunter despite still being enrolled in high school. That's probably why he's the one on Denji's case. Yoshida isn't the only public safety devil hunter on hand either. The secret third higher-up, hidden behind their hat for a few chapters now, turns out to be everyone's favorite crybaby, Kobeni. She's apparently returned to school, but was forced to rejoin devil hunting for the promise of scholarships. Haruka, the club president, takes control of the situation, giving Asa time to make a new game plan. If she can kill him, she can get her body back without making Denji a weapon. The group of teens make their way through the endless hall until they find a loose floor panel, leading to one of several identical break rooms well stocked with water and frozen fish. With Kobeni's lighter and a pile of newspapers, the teens have a decent chance of survival. Well, except Asa, who refuses to eat something that looks dead. She takes her comrade's shock as an excuse to separate and panic alone. Denji is also back in the endless aquarium, picking up a sack of 1,000 yen, which Asa finds distasteful. After a very righteous argument, Asa declares herself a better person than her former date and resolves to find a way to help escape even without Yoru. With no other ideas for escape, the other devil hunters are stuck searching for some kind of clue. Turns out Asa has one since she has access to her cell phone. Still a rarity in this alternate universe 1990 something, and it has a bit of service. The celebration is cut short when the phone is broken. When a celebratory Asa falls, she's exiled to the endless hallway as a result. She lies in the hallway contemplating her fate until she realizes that Haruka joined her. He reveals that the ripcord in his chest is fake and it's just a part of an extensive Chainsaw Man merchandise collection. He begs to be saved by his hero, not knowing that Chainsaw Man is just a bit further down the endless hallway. 3 days have passed. Everyone's either lost their minds or made peace with the idea of death. Denji stumbles upon a tank containing a weakened Asa who hasn't eaten anything in days. In a state of delirium, she apologizes for inadvertently getting him trapped in the aquarium, and even reveals her plans to turn him into a human sword. Denji responds to her vulnerability with the proposition of eating starfish. With a thirsty Kobeni pressed against a glass, Denji and Asa find a starfish suitable for consumption and leave the tank to boil it. While waiting for their meal to cook, Asa questions Denji about his obsession with making a quick buck. He reveals that he's saving up tuition money so his little sister can lead a normal life. The two continue to bond when Asa tries and fails to eat a dried fish. Asa's newfound confidence after a few compliments reminds Denji of his old buddy Power, causing him to crack a genuine smile. The nutrient intake gives Asa another bright idea for escape, collecting money like they're in a Mario game. They speed around the aquarium, picking up anything that looks like it has cash. By the end of their run around the aquarium, their funds reach over 1 million yen, and Asa persuades Denji to hand over his part of the funds. He caves quickly with the promise of any favor from her, and uses the funds to buy the aquarium. Now the aquarium means something to her, and thus can be turned into a weapon. Everyone is freed, including Denji and a penguin he befriends immediately. The devil is enraged with Asa backing out on their deal, and winds up a tentacle to kill her, but Yoshida suavely intervenes. Yoru, no longer blocked by her sister, is able to take over Asa's body again. With the power of guilt for ruining an aquarium powering the sword, Yoru spears the new aquarium devil and impresses the devil hunters in the process. Denji and Asa walk back to her house, where Asa apologizes once again. Denji tells her not to worry. He did get to touch a penguin, and asks her out on a second date. The time spent in the aquarium gave Asa a little crush on him. It's a mistake. Since Yoru shares her brain, she knows that there's an emotional connection to take advantage of now. The devil takes the opportunity that this newfound connection offers and attempts to make Denji into a sword. She tries several times, but Denji just won't comply. He thinks it's some weird way to say goodbye. Both girls are confused as to why the sword manifestation didn't happen, but Yoru's content with learning that they can share emotions. Asa is less satisfied. She's a little upset by the potentially one-sided crush on Denji, and still has one remaining hang-up about the aquarium situation. She needs more answers on who the famine devil is, but Yoru only gives a brief overview. The next day, Denji lays out his stellar date plan. However, Asa's opinions on Denji have flipped, and she's back to bickering with him. She tries to reverse psychology her way into canceling the date by suggesting they rent VHS tapes at Denji's place. After an internal argument, he relents, but with deadly consequences if she breaks any house rules. She comes over, and the duo sit in awkward silence as Denji remembers his house rules. The only one that Asa doesn't immediately understand is no PDA in front of Denji's roommate. She's actually upset that he suggests they do anything outside of watching movies. She tells him that he's just a distraction for her, which causes him to freak out. His self-doubt gives Yoru time to emerge and send mixed signals with a kiss. The makeout is shortcut with a horde of dogs and the arrival of Nayuta, the reincarnation of the control devil. She's still super protective of Denji and immediately attacks Asa with a chain, turning her into a dog. Much like Makima, the new control devil uses dog behavior to control those that stand in her way. With the promise of food, she agrees to release Asa/Yoru. However, she takes her sweet time and tries to persuade Denji to keep her as a pet. Every woman he's come across has tried to hurt him. Why take another chance with Asa? He turns that idea down, but agrees to Nayuta's condition for releasing his date. Nayuta is just as manipulative as Makima though, and actively tries to isolate Denji from any woman. Later, Asa is back to normal, but believes that Denji stood her up thanks to Nayuta's mental manipulation. She's visibly upset about it, as much as she tries to rationalize it. She's about to give up and leave until Yoshida approaches her and asks her to hang out. And that's the end of the Dating Devil arc. There was a lot more human drama going on, and it gave us probably the worst date in manga history, and all the memes that came along with it. The Control Devil's return to the series also means another possibly antagonistic force for this second part. We'll see how these ever-shifting relationships affect the devil-centric part of the story. With Denji and Asa's budding relationship in shambles, and Nayuta, the reincarnated control devil, properly introduced with some very Makima-like tendencies, Chainsaw Man Part 2 is officially in full swing. Tensions are only rising as Yoshida begins to enmesh himself deeper in both Denji and Asa's lives. However, this third part is easily the most thrilling era of the story yet. We last left Asa memory wiped, Men in Black style, after an accidental run-in with Nayuta. With her date with Denji apparently cancelled, she joins Yoshida for coffee in the Devil Hunters Club lounge. They discuss the pros and cons of the solitary lifestyle. Asa, feeling affirmed once again, ignites a new crush on her devil hunting superior. The feeling is not mutual. Yoshida just wanted to cryptically tell Asa to keep away from Denji. That might be harder than either of them think it is. His quick dismissal of Asa makes sense since he has another date planned with the Famine Devil. This isn't strictly a date either, he still has ulterior motives. Since Fami has no problem exposing her identity to anyone, and her status as one of the four horsemen, she's the perfect subject for Yoshida to pick her brain. There's a rumor he needs to dispel, one of apocalyptic proportions. A prediction by Nostradamus claims that in a matter of weeks, 23 out of every 30 people will lose their lives. As of now, the public believes this is an urban legend, but the public safety devil hunters have proof that it's more than a hoax. Fami is well aware of the prophecy and the fates of the 7 survivors. She points to the East District Tamano apartments as her ground zero of ultimate terror. Elsewhere, Yoshida's ward is neglecting his duties as Chainsaw Man to lethargically lie on the floor in a pile of dogs. Even though Nayuta smells a threat, he refuses to budge from his position on the ground. He's dejected because with Nayuta's dangerously possessive nature, his dreams of drowning in women are effectively crushed, and he sees no point in his freelance hero work. His devilish little sister, unhappy that Denji isn't doing her bidding and keeping her entertained, assures him that she won't put a complete damper on his dreams. After all, an adoring mass of fans is certainly better than just one girlfriend, right? It takes Denji a bit to think it over, but he eventually agrees. Good timing too, since Asa is walking into another dangerous situation. She's too stuck in her head to realize that the apartment complex she's walking past looks a little too abandoned, until she comes face to face with a mangled corpse. The seemingly quiet, complex East District Tamano apartments is suddenly full of people staring her down before simultaneously launching themselves over the balcony. As Yoru gears up for a fight, the corpses land in piles, merging into body horror-esque mounds of sentient, faceless flesh. The war devil shows regret and fear for the first time and sprints away. She can't outrun the creator of this mass death, the Falling Devil. She's a chef from hell, cooking up a metaphorical full-course meal of regret, fear, self-loathing, and depression. Yoru is unable to fight or flee since Asa is paralyzed by flashbacks to the tragic drowning of her cat back when she lived at the orphanage. She regains her bearings, but it's too late. Tokyo has done a 180, causing the spontaneous falling deaths of dozens of citizens. It also separates Yoru from Asa once more, leaving our fearful protagonist on her own once more. Asa nearly becomes another victim of spontaneous falling, but some quick thinking from Yoru saves them both. The devil tries to determine what the Hell Chef's source of fear is, while trying to keep Asa grounded with a constant pain in her finger. The distracting pain does not stop Asa from falling all over the place, even defying laws of gravity, and keeps knocking Yoru out of her body. The distrust between the two reaches a fever pitch, since Asa is tired of being screwed over and constantly traumatized by her devilish possessor. Knowing that the falling devil is making Asa irrational, Yoru tries to calm her down and find the root of Asa's neuroses, a fear of both companionship and abandonment. The two need to figure out basic cooperation quickly, since the falling devil has already prepared and served 2 courses and is planning to make Asa and Yoru her main dish. They're bought some time by the falling devil's search for a paper apple pairing for human flesh, causing her to get gunned down by some public safety devil hunters. She reconstitutes herself again and again, regardless of how many bullets and explosions hit her, until a surprise chainsaw blade goes straight through her chest. Chainsaw Man's arrival stops Falling Devil from causing more deaths. She didn't actually mean to kill as many people as she did. Her mission was to drop Asa into hell to free its residents. Denji is understandably confused, but is definitely not down with the sacrifice of his ex-situationship. He's not immune to the effects of the Falling Devil though, and soon his grasp on gravity is lost and his mind becomes flooded with images of power and gun fiend Aki. He's not stopped for long, thanks to literally turning off his brain, since he's able to fall and dismember her once again. Though she's entertained by the idea of a chef being eaten, the Falling Devil just chucks Denji off of her after reconstituting once again. With the last obstacle lying on the ground gurgling blood, it looks like Asa's back on the menu. With the Falling Devil back in her area, Asa is back to being thrown around and tormented by the horrors. She's actually persuaded to untether herself from a miserable life and to take the fall. But she's saved by a healed Chainsaw Man. Asa's less than thrilled to be saved from certain death. She's fully convinced that the Falling Devil's depressing ideology is right, so Denji has to become an amateur therapist to talk her off of the literal and metaphorical ledge. He assures her that life can't suck all the time, that everyone has or will hit rock bottom, which seems like a prison. It's a genuine heart-to-heart, especially since Denji admits that he hasn't made it past the trauma of part 1. The moment is immediately shattered with Chainsaw Man admitting to his horniness, but Asa is finally broken out of her depressive fugue. As they hang in the air and bicker over if sex is gross or not, they fall back to Earth. Asa is knocked out in the impact, so Denji makes a mad dash to avoid minions of the Falling Devil. She tries to get Chainsaw Man to sacrifice the main course, and he tries to negotiate keeping her back end. He's admonished for his lustfulness again and left with a cryptic warning to survive until dawn, before the Falling Devil is bifurcated by another chainsaw blade. Asa wakes up to the reveal of 2 chainsaw men before being thrown around for the 100th time that night. Denji's also launched backwards and incapacitated. Yoru finally reappears and pushes Asa to take him out, but she hesitates thanks to the mid-air heart-to-heart and the previous save during the Yuko incident. As a giant tentacle thing flies towards both ladies, Asa does the unthinkable, begs Chainsaw Man to save her. The tentacles double and fling Asa into several cars, but she's picked up before they can make impact. Chainsaw Man has indeed come to at least try and save her, but he's been pretty banged up over the course of the night. Thankfully, a motorcycle appears to be driving right under them, and he refuses to steal it since the rider is a woman. But there's a backup cycle being handled by a dude. That's fair game for Denji, and he knocks the guy off and speeds away. The two keep dodging tentacles at the insistence of the fake Chainsaw Man, but that becomes much more difficult when a spiral of them form above the buildings. Denji takes the bike on the side of the skyscraper, avoiding the carnage and confusing the pale man figure that's apparently controlling the tentacles. The mysterious figure is forced to come out of itself and try to smash the duo with its mallet hands. Once again, they dodge the attacks, but neither are prepared for the skyscraper falling across the skyline. That, and an admittedly funny one-liner, portend the return of the Falling Devil. A fiery explosion and mass destruction occurs, which Denji and Asa maneuver through. But trying to avoid debris and smoke prevents them from seeing a much more imposing mallet hand figure with no face-style mouth stomach in front of them. The two go flying into the gaping maw, which the chef is exceedingly pleased about. She just hates dine and dashers. Despite her excessive preparation of the meal, her customer just can't hold the food down. He vomits out both Denji and Asa, upsetting the chef. The Falling Devil can't take critiques about her cooking and blows up the giant monster. That's pretty poor customer service. With the failure of her main course, the Falling Devil goes to apologize to the mastermind of this project. Ironically, it's the Famine Devil. She seems pretty chill about it at first, but then flambés the chef. Turns out the plan was sabotaged by Nayuta, who reunited with her sister at some point. She's confused why Denji is a target of her ire. Fami reveals that the Falling Devil wasn't the prophetic ender of humanity, and she's not gunning for the rise of devil kind. She's not softening up or anything, which is what Nayuta thinks at first, but she'll miss human food. She also wasn't trying to kill Denji either. She was just hoping to starve out Yoru to make her compliant. Nayuta isn't on board with her sister's plan since she has other priorities, which is being a know-it-all at school. Now that an inevitable all-out apocalypse is on the table, the situation for Denji, Asa, and the Devils has gotten even more dire. Who knows what craziness will go down in the limited time humanity might have left. We'll see where this goes in the next arc of Chainsaw Man. But that's pretty much it for this one, guys. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.